We're taking turns, like it's gonna be quick, but it's gonna be. We'll let you know, or you can give us.
You can just let me know. Okay. Turn this way. Okay.
Let me know when you're ready.
Good.
Okay.
Good evening. This is the work session for Northfield City Council, May 18th of 2021. This meeting was properly advertised in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, in the Press of Atlantic City on January 9th of this year. Due to social distancing requirements related to COVID-19, there are limited seats for in-person attendance by members of the public this evening. For this reason, the meeting is also being presented simultaneously as a remote public meeting live streamed using Zoom conferencing service and in accordance with the governor's executive orders and the Open Public Meetings Act. Zoom meeting participants can dial in by telephone and listen to the proceedings, or they can access the meeting using a web browser and be able to view and listen. Instructions on how members of the public could reserve one of the limited seats, as well as how they can access Zoom, have been made available on the municipal website and were published in the Press of Atlantic City. The full text of the public meeting notice has been posted at the entrance to the municipal building and includes Zoom instructions, information on where to find the meeting agenda and relevant documents, as well as instructions on how members of the public could submit comments in advance of tonight's meeting. For those participating via Zoom, all participants will be muted upon entry to the meeting. Web browser participants will not be able to share their screens or see the camera view of anyone other than the host, which is the city of Northfield. Zoom participants wishing to exercise their right to participate during the public comment portion of the meeting should wait until the specific announcement is made to open the public comment period. At this time, one by one, any telephone users will be asked to identify themselves and will be unmuted to permit commentary. What was that? For web browser participants, comments or questions may be submitted via the chat function, but will not be acknowledged outside of the designated public comment portion of the meeting. Chat users must also provide his or her name and address for the record in order to be heard. Any written questions submitted in advance will be read aloud and addressed during the public comment portion of the meeting, and we do have one such comment that will be read during the public comment portion. May I have a flag salute led by Council President Pro Tem, please?
All right.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. Roll call, Mr. Deweese?
Here.
Mrs. Madden? Mr. Notaro?
Here.
Mr. Perry?
Here.
Mr. Smith? Mr. Utz?
Here.
Mr. Palestina?
Here.
Mr. Chow? Mr. President?
Thank you. Let's see. I guess we'll just start right off. We have a presentation here from Fan. I'll get out of the way.
Hello, everyone. First, let me say thank you so much for letting us speak today. Our main goal is really just to open up lines of
Tom.
communication with you all.
Name and address for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What was that?
Just give your name and address.
Yeah, yep.
Each presenter too. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I was just going to introduce myself after that. So my name is Angela Barini. I'm at 11 Magnolia Court in Northfield. Yeah. I am the president of FAN, so I just wanted to introduce myself. Just to introduce some of my board. This is Chris Graves, who's the vice president. Steve Malia is our treasurer. Julie Peppers, our secretary, and Ali Kamak is sergeant of arms. So for those of you who don't know, we are a nonprofit organization who are always looking to enhance our youth sports programs. It's all about the kids. Between football and cheer, we have about 200 athletes. Our basketball program has about 500 athletes. And although there's some overlap with kids that play both, we represent about 600 families in Northfield. Over the past year, we've been listening and talking to these families and trying to adjust our programs according to the needs of everyone. And I think what we've ultimately come up with is we could really use a refresh. We want you to know that we do understand budgets. We know what you guys are up against. We know that you have discussed applying for the LRIG grant and two others, and that there are COVID relief funds and grants out there, and we assumed you applied for them as well. We're just pretty much here today to speak and discuss some of our ideas for some projects, and we want just to let you know why we think they're going to work. I think it'll better our entire community. And maybe we can incorporate some of our ideas with some thoughts that I know we spoke before a couple times, Mr. DeWeese, and he had some great ideas. I think if we can work together, we can probably make some big changes to a beautiful property that we have right here in town. Dave and I spoke before as well. With that being said, I'm going to let Chris Graves take over to discuss the double basketball courts.
Chris Graves, 26 Jack Sloan Court. So the basketball courts. We are completely reliant on the school to have our basketball program. With the school being shut down, that was not an option. There is no rec basketball courts in the city of Northfield that are usable for our organization. Like when we had travel leagues and everything like that, kids went and played in their neighbors' yards for practice. Now, we originally, could you go back one slide? This was our original plan. We met with Mr. Notaro and Mr. DeWeese, and this is what we came up with. But after we talked to zoning and we went through some things, it just wasn't feasible with the parking on football game days, and that parking lot is a nightmare to begin with. So this idea, like in theory, we said, okay, basketball courts are something the city would be willing to hear about and hopefully get involved with, but not in this location. So then we went to the next spot.
Excuse me one second. Can we dim the lights? Because I can't see the screen at all on Zoom. Because if I can't see it, Zoom people can't see it.
Come out and see it? No, I have the hard copy.
All right, so this is the next iteration we came up with. Basically, we, in speaking with the other council members, we're talking about Mr. Smith's grant that he got for new playground equipment, and we thought, what better place than this? It's a completely unutilized area. We would love to be partnering with the city to place the basketball courts in this location. We were thinking,
It didn't
we
help.
have that
It's okay.
beautiful snack bar there with bathrooms, and it's not utilized that much. It's very underutilized. So if we could get that going with new playground equipment and the basketball court, like what better spot than that? I personally have kids from 4 to 11, and it would be a dream come true to be able to be on the playground with one. The others could be playing basketball. You could be fishing. They could be riding bikes on the new dirt bike trail in the back. And with COVID now, everything has changed. So these kids need more outside time, more time with their friends, because they were shut in for like a year. So in order to do all this, like this would be just ideal for everybody. Not only that, just for the kids. We all have kids that do summer clinics in Margate and Ventnor and everywhere else. This could be a spot to have 3-on-3 tournaments and clinics and bring an influx of people into the city and also into the small businesses in town. This land right now, it's just unused, kind of swampy land. There's nothing there. And I don't know what there is as far as EPA guidelines go, but it seemed like kind of a no-brainer as far as you're not really interrupting anything going on there. That's all for me. We're going to turn it over to Julie Pepper, the next proposed project.
All right. Thank you guys so much. You can go ahead to the next slide. Hi there, my name's Julie Pepper. My address is 114 Mount Vernon Avenue. I have lived here my entire existence. I'm the youngest of 5. My maiden name is Foreman. Growing up at Birch Grove Park was my entire, fun as a kid. And now raising my family, I have 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. And it's been an absolute joy, watching them grow here in the same community that I grew up in. So thank you for your guys' time today. I think a few of you may have met with Field Turf and had a somewhat of a informal presentation of what a turf field could bring to our community. Now, our football field just got the new sod, and thank you again for that, and it looks wonderful right now. But throughout the many years of the football field, there's been a major underlining draining issue, and that has created our field to be deemed unplayable, unfortunately, at pretty opportune times for our program. This past year, our football team was very successful and was given the opportunity to be the host of both the playoffs and the championship game. But unfortunately, with tons and tons of rain, the field was in such, it was so damaged that it was deemed unplayable. So the snack bar is fans' biggest revenue. And we were, lost a huge opportunity to make money. And obviously this global pandemic has been quite difficult to our program. So turf, yes. Is this a big project? Absolutely. That practice field is an option. This is just a picture to show you what it could look like in our community. It could provide multiple sports venue, not just football. We could utilize it for soccer, lacrosse, flag football, cheerleading, field hockey that's never really been explored in the town of Northfield, and miscellaneous other things, and all sorts of activities. What this could mean for us as a revenue maker is there's lots of different, we actually have a sponsorship committee solely on our commitment to raise money as an organization and help support such projects. Sponsorship, signage, displayed around the field. We just this week got a $1,500 sponsorship for our scoreboard. And we have a dedicated committee that's out there ready to pave the pavement. Renting the turf, for these different tournaments, generating people from near and far to come to our beautiful community. It truly is a gateway to the shore. So why not help these local families that just opened businesses? I know a new Mexican restaurant just opened, the new pickles. I've already had 2 pickle sandwiches. They're delicious. But just thinking about all these people who've suffered throughout the pandemic, and wow, wouldn't it be great if we could bring some people to our community? My 3 children play travel soccer, and I'm sick and tired of going to Mount Laurel and all these other towns. Why wouldn't I want to watch them right here and then go to the beach? So it's a big project, but time is of the essence, and we have these COVID grants that are presented to you guys as the city, and if there's the funds available, I think it would be something really to consider and to think about. If you could just go to the next slide. This is a busy slide, and I'm just gonna wrap it up here, but this is basically just showing you that yes, it's a high upfront cost, and yes, it has future replacement cost, but it's a lower cost per hour of use, and increased hours of use would be generating revenue for years to come. Again, Field Turf would be happy to come to a council meeting and give you guys an in-depth presentation if this is something that you would truly consider. But I would be remiss if I did not bring this to your attention, and it doesn't hurt to ask, and I think this would be an absolute beautiful refresh for our field. So thank you for your time, and I am going to hand it over to our treasurer, Steve Malia. Thank you so much.
Everyone, Steve Malia, 106 Julie Drive. All right. So as mentioned, I'm treasurer. So basically, we need to figure out how to do all these things, right? So we presented some high-level projects. I don't know what works. I don't know what doesn't, right? We've had some high-level discussions with Councilman Notaro, with Councilman DeWeese. That's something we can look at. There's some more immediate upgrades that we'd like to work with the city on. Our tower is one of them. I know the top of it is falling over, and then we're not allowed up there. This has been an issue. The garage door doesn't shut. and squirrels get in. And typically it's my job to get the dead squirrels out. So that's a personal one that I'd like to get resolved. And there's just like minor things around the field. So, you know, we can follow up on this with Councilman DeWeese and we can just kind of walk through some things and talk through them. So those are more the easy things that, you know, we're willing to assist with, do everything. And we have talked before that, you know, we're willing to put up our end of it, right? But we just don't, we need to have that communication, right? We need to just have the back and forth and understand what we need to do, what we're allowed to do, and what the city can help us with. Kind of going to the next slide, if you don't mind. So then, you know, this is where the treasurer part comes in. How do we make all this happen, right? We've hinted at it, and everybody knows it. We had a tough year, right? We lost revenue. We lost the ability to have fundraisers. It's not fun. Everybody suffered from this. Everybody knows the same story, but it is difficult. How we operate FAN is we try to basically cover costs of general operation of each sport with registration. We try to keep our registrations as low as possible so they just cover the cost of the sport. We rely on sponsorships, other things for those general costs, right? Renewing of uniforms, other stuff, whatever we need, sports equipment, those sorts of things. Without having sponsorships and, you know, events over the last year, it hurt. We're trying to be proactive with all this. When we look back at the last year, we did lose a couple football games. Julie mentioned about the snack bar. That is our bread and butter. That was roughly a $5,000 to $7,000 loss because the rest wouldn't let us play the games on the field. Then we lost our basketball season. Again, I understand we couldn't get into the school. And while it's not necessarily profitable, it is cash flow moving through our organization, which helps, you know, you just delay the bills, right, until the next thing. So it just really throws everything off. So we're back, right? We can start doing things. A couple of things that we're willing to do. We have an event coming up at the end of the month. We have a coin drop scheduled for July. Where's Mary? July 10th, not 9th. I did do that wrong. I apologize. But if anybody wants to leave money on the side of the road on the 9th, we'll pick it up the next morning. As Julie mentioned, we are going after sponsorships, that sort of thing. Then as we talk about any of these things that do become reality, if there is a basketball court, if there is a field that can be more, a football field that can be more used, right? Because as we all know, it just gets destroyed, right? So I know other organizations have asked to use it and it just isn't in a spot that we can do that. If we're able to do that, that able to open up the snack bar, have more revenue driven, those sorts of things. And it just kind of keeps things going. We've talked about brick fundraisers and things like that we could do around it. And what we're hoping, talking with the city and following up on this, is that we know there's grants out there, right? It's not our land, it's your guys' land. So how can we be part of things that you guys do and just have that open communication? And then if we can just kind of forward think about some of these things. Again, like Angela said, we understand budgets. Stuff's done. Can we talk about stuff for future years, those sorts of things? You know, we've spoken before about the lights, right? There's those lights out there that will eventually fall down. And that's just kind of concern. So again, we're just really trying to be proactive and get ahead of some of this stuff so we don't have to be reactive. Because I think our first envision with this basketball court may have been reactive, right? We didn't have a place to play and kids were suffering. And we just sit here and we feel it's all expanded this year, right? Where people didn't have things to do. But our entire organization, which, you know, 9 people on the board, roughly another 25 between all the committees, and that doesn't even count all the coaches and volunteers that put in their time. We all feel that sports, outdoor activities, indoor activities is really needed for the children of this town. And we want to make sure, you know, Little League does the same thing. Our friends over there have their same mantra with teaching the kids. And we're trying to get everybody kind of moving forward and getting the best for these children. Kind of just the last slide. And a couple meetings we've had, and Councilman DeWeese, we've talked back and forth. You said, hey, you know, what can you guys contribute, right? And my answer was always, oh, we can contribute something. But we don't know, right, until we know the project, right? It's something we need to look at and we need to understand. And then even we talked about, you know, fundraising with things. When we originally talked about that basketball court, we did have somebody able to donate material to us and was ready to do it, right? But we can't really have those conversations until we talk to you guys and know that it's okay, right? It's this double-edged sword. You can't build it without the money, but you can't ask for the money and not build it, right? So it just doesn't work out well. I just kind of want everybody to understand what we do pay for, right? Again, we kind of are flat with our registration costs. That covers our refs, all that sort of stuff. There's the every couple of years cost. Big one, it's a helmet year. Football, you got to have the safest equipment. We have to refurb all our helmets every 2 years and get them recertified. That's like a $6,000 cost. This year, we got to buy pom-poms. Has anyone bought a pom-pom? Surprisingly expensive. I was shocked, right? And then just, the overall operation of things, the rest for the games, the field supplies. We're painting everything, we're painting the buildings, we're doing all that. Last year, we also got hit with COVID-related supplies, thermometers. I happen to be the COVID guy too. Treasurer COVID guy, worst job, don't do it. Cleaning supplies, and then we had porta potties because we couldn't open the bathroom. So we had a $4,600 porta potty bill, right? Understand why we needed to do it, and we are happy to do it. But it's those sorts of things that basically just, drain our bank account, right? So we're just trying to move forward from that. Like I said, we have things going on, and we're just really trying to open the lines of communication and be, again, proactive. We don't want to be in the position where we all knew that the field was in bad shape. How do we get ahead of not having game canceled, right? And then anything else we can do. I think that is about it. So I've also been deemed to answer any questions that you guys have. Ms. Madden, go ahead. Oh, wait, am I allowed to do that? Do I call on her or you guys call on her? Okay, I'm sorry.
You have a question, Barry? Yeah, let's wait till the open session, and that way we can, then the public can do their questions as well.
All right.
Thank you for the presentation. Great job. Very informative. Okay, let's move on to our committee reports. Councilman Perry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Talked about the pump issue. We're still moving forward on that to see if we can do a economical, feasible way to do it on the requirements that would be for the homeowner to have it on site, and some of the other information with other towns. We're looking at that also. It could be a pretty costly endeavor for a homeowner to have on site. Mr. Louise, engineer, we met on that. And then the other issue was we met on the certain roads that we're looking at moving forward with the paving and the state aid project, and no report on the senior citizens at this time. So right now, Mr. President.
Thank you. On the sump pump, are we anticipating not having anyone be able to put it into the gutters, or just, as I think the engineer Rami had said, as long as it doesn't puddle? I mean, is that something where we?
We're not at that point with the ordinance as of yet, but I think it would be beneficial if there was a moratorium and that from one point on it would not be allowed.
Okay.
Only because of the health hazards with the water, pooling, ponding, ice in the winter. It's just should be kept on site, but we're not at that point right now.
Thank you. Councilman Utz.
Planning board was fairly uneventful this week. I guess everybody from council got their job description for the new code enforcement officer that we're now looking for to replace our current. Other than that, no.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Notaro.
Thank you, Mr. President. EMS, last month for April, we had 53 dispatch calls, 153, sorry about that, 53 dispatch calls, 127 calls with patients, 95 transports, 12 mutual aid calls, and thankfully zero Narcans. From the Cultural Committee, the summer concerts at the gazebo will be starting up again. It'll be nice to have some bands out there throughout the summer. So keep that in mind and keep a look at the calendar for those events coming up. Also, they're gearing up for the 4th of July parade. Hopefully this year, it's a little bit more special and we can get, back to earth here, Also, on May 31st at 9:30 at the Veterans Park, we'll be honoring our great men and women that died for us, serving our country. So if you can make that as well, it's something that I think we should all, try to make. So it takes a few
Absolutely,
minutes to go out
absolutely.
there. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Pardon? Sure.
Need the fire report, the print is this morning.
Oh.
I printed it for you, it's in your packet. It is, it should be in there for you.
I don't think I'm any better.
I do have a question for Dave.
I made it so you can read.
I have a
Go
question.
ahead.
What time is the event at Veterans Park?
At Veterans Park, it's 9:30.
9:30.
Yes.
Hey, Paul, would you be able to help them with the squirrel? No. Councilman Deweese?
I think Mrs. Matt has some other stuff to say.
Sure, okay.
Oh, okay.
The fire department had 4 fire incident calls, 3 hazardous condition calls, 2 service calls for unauthorized burns, 5 good intent calls, 3 false alarm calls, and 2 mutual aid calls.
Okay, Councilman Deweese.
I'm happy to report that the stewardship for the police department has arrived and is in place out back. So that's all that I have tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Is it a container?
Councilman Smith?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll start with the Northfield Little League. I wanted to make the announcement that they are sponsoring, speaking of fundraising, a cornhole tournament this Saturday at, I believe, 11:30 a.m. at Birch Grove. So
I
like to
think
encourage,
it's in Summer, is it,
where is
is
it?
it in Summers Point?
Summers Point, sorry. We want to encourage anyone who's interested in some cornhole to get out there. They've been sending emails out. The other detail in terms of the court and shared services, we know that Linwood did approve a resolution to advance their agreement with Hamilton Township in joining the court with Hamilton Township. They're the lead agent with our shared court. I know that we have some questions, and our solicitor, Mr. Facenda, had some questions he was waiting to hear back from the solicitor at Hamilton Township, some things we wanted to clear up. But the status is kind of while we wait for the county to figure out what its plan is and wait for the state to pass legislation and see if that comes about. I know the dream is to have that up and running for January 1st, but in the meantime, there really hasn't been a whole lot of firm movement on that. Linwood is moving forward with the agreement with Hamilton Township, which puts us in the position to respond to that as well. And I know that we have questions, and maybe Mr. Facenda could address some of that detail. But essentially, if Linwood moves forward, we would need to also agree to that as well. We don't necessarily have many options with that, but it would save us money. That's the reality of it. And we would also have the 90-day out to join the county-wide courts should that come to fruition. So that's kind of where we stand at the moment. Maybe Mr. Facenda could address some of that.
Yes, we had a conference call just before our meeting tonight, Tom, Mary, and myself, together with counsel for Hamilton and Linwood. Most of my concerns were addressed to my satisfaction. I had made some revisions to an agreement, some of which made it into the next version, others of which didn't. So some of the changes that I wanted in were omitted, but I think for the most part, probably 95% of those things, once we talked about them, are going to be added back in. I do have a few issues to discuss with you, Mr. Smith, which I would prefer to do subject to the attorney-client privilege.
Thank you, Mr. Facenda. And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Okay,
anyone
Councilwoman
has-
Madden?
Insurance and safety, anything on any of this in the month? regional, meeting on the 17th is canceled. I think they're fighting, the musical is going on now. And, the next meeting is at least rescheduled for June 14th. And I have that. Attendance is 278. Materials and circulation was book circulation 68. Audio book circulation 67. Fines collected 55.23. And virtual programs and programs used effectively. That's the library engineering, consolidation with the county of Oregon,
Thank you.
Mr. President, I'm sorry, can I make, I had one other item and I
Yes.
forgot about it. I just wanted to note the school board meeting for Northfield is this coming Monday. I did want to make a mention of the fact that we can celebrate, I think, a little bit. Governor Murphy came out with the order that schools will be in session in person for all students starting next year. So that's something to look forward to as we move through the summer and head towards September. That's the expectation moving forward. So that was some positive news certainly to hear in the last couple of days.
Absolutely. I have nothing to report from my committees. We'll move on to the unfinished business. Let's see, the Zion Road Pump Station easement.
Still working on the plans,
Okay.
Council President, yes.
And Northfield Avenue drainage, Northfield and Route 9 drainage.
Right. I had a meeting with a representative from the state, from the DOT. 6 engineers came in to look at the problems, and as usual, it's like they kept arguing among themselves. And I tried to show them what the problem is. I think Councilman Dees was there for a little bit, for maybe another half an hour. Public Works were there. Finally, they agreed that there was an old pipe. At some point, somebody took that pipe and put a smaller pipe inside, which started causing the problem for us. They are not willing to fix the problem on their own. They said this is a combined problem. You have all the water runoff from Northfield Ave comes down all the way. Portion of the road is coming in. They're willing to share the cost. So I told them I'll bring it to council, see how council wants to proceed with this. One other alternative was for them, instead of spending $15,000 to fix this problem, they were willing to hire an engineering company to handle all the runoff from their system, install drainage inlets, spend a couple $100,000 and not work with us. They said, oh, we can't, because if we fix this problem, that means we're helping municipalities. I said, but you're the state, and I could not get them to budge on that. They were willing to go out, hire companies, engineering companies, contractors to fix the problem from their system. And they said, after we fix all that, then you have to connect to our system. So the best solution would be at this point if we can share the cost with the state and get this issue resolved.
Do we have any estimate of cost?
I haven't done anything. I told them I'd like to bring this to council before I respond back to the state, to the representative.
Does the state have that estimate, Ron?
No, nobody has that estimate. No. Just the idea is they were willing to share the cost, but that's all what they were willing to do. At one point, I had 10 people from the DOT on site. You think there's like, there's a free food or something. So
If we did it, well, they would take the lead and they would bid it out? and
no, they
would
want
run
us.
it?
They want us to take the lead.
They want us to?
Yeah. See, if you get the state to take the lead on this project, a $15,000 job becomes 50. We take the lead. We're fiscally responsible. We pay attention to how much we spend, and we try to get the proper contractor. We don't spend a lot of money on re-engineering the wheel anyway. So we just do some basic engineering and we get it done.
Councilman Deweese?
Tell me, what's the fix? Replace that 8-inch pipe with a 12-inch?
Actually, it's a 6-inch pipe they put in, the flexible pipe, and originally it used to be 12-inch. So the fix would be is try to get that 6-inch out and see maybe we can slip line that portion so we don't open the road. But if the worst case scenario would be to take that pipe and put back a 12-inch pipe. So basically they created a bottleneck for us. When all the runoff comes in, it gets bottled up in that area until like 2-3 hours, then it goes away.
Does that, if we get to that side, how large of a pipe are you going to be able to, do you think we'd put in?
I don't think we need more than 12-inch pipe because our system is about 15-inch. So 12-inch would hold the water back, the runoff back, but it would not cause a problem for us. Because according to Public Works, when that pipe was in place, the water would be to the top of the inlets, maybe a couple inches in the street, which is no big deal because this will go away eventually. But when they replace it with that smaller pipe, now the water sits 6 inches in the street. And sometimes when you have heavy rains, it's onto the people's property.
Right.
So it causes a problem.
I mean, we would still, with the extremely heavy rains, even with the 12-inch, you'd have some of that as well.
You would, like
But it'd
anywhere
be
in the city.
Short-lived?
Anywhere in the city, we have the same problem. Like
Right.
even we upgraded drainage system when you have torrential rain and you get 5-6 inches per hour. That's no system is designed to handle that amount of water. So
Part of the problem is you can't clean that pipe that's in the mountain because it's so small.
yeah, you can't
So
clean it.
it could be an 8-inch pipe, it could be reduced to a 4-inch.
Mm-hmm.
Because all the silt is.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, the size of that pipe is 6-inch flex, which I think at this point maybe it's functioning as maybe 3-inch, which is like extremely small opening to allow the water to run out in that to the existing system. And the water is not backing up from the state system because the state system is almost 5 feet below our system. So it will never back up into our street because that system is deep. So, I mean, the option would be is to try to work with the state and come back with an estimate that they will agree to pay for 50%, and then we'll move forward with it.
But we still haven't been able to, nobody can tell us how that pipe got inside there.
Nobody knows. They start telling us, you guys did it. Then finally, when they opened the manhole in Route 9, you can see the old pipe and the small pipe is cemented in. So it's very, very obvious somebody put a smaller pipe in. So the thought is either the pipe got damaged and they figured, let's fix it this way. They stunk another pipe in, call it a day. I don't know. We have no records. We did not do it. I mean, Quinn been with Public Works for 30 years and he does not even remember. We don't go into the state system. We
Right.
don't open their manholes. We don't touch their drainage. So.
Yes.
So the system is a municipal system in a state right away?
No, it's not in the state right of way. The two drainage inlets in Northfield Avenue, they're in our right of way.
But they go through Route.
There's a
Route 9.
there's connection, yes, but they're handling portion of Route 9 into our system. It comes through our drainage and it finds its way back into their system because when they designed Route 9, and I was trying to explain to the DOT representative that you caused that problem. You created a low point without any collection points. I said, you are using our street to collect your stormwater. But they didn't get it, so.
But the pipe is in the state road.
Our drainage system is in our right of way, the two inlets, but there's
Where is the pipe that you want to replace?
between our right of way and the right of way. So it goes into the state right of way.
So it's our system with somebody manipulated.
Apparently that line was in and somebody changed it, yes. I'm not sure if that line, the one that got changed is our line. I mean, it gets to a gray area, whose line is it? So I don't know. So if we're willing to work with the state, I can contact them, say council is willing to entertain some ideas
Oh, yeah.
and see what they come back.
Design something, if you gotta look at their system, we don't have that.
Oh, their system is oversized and,
But why can't you dump into that and start to?
we can dump into it.
That's what they're doing now.
That's what they're doing. The water is getting into their system one way or another.
I guess a visual drawing or something, just a small schematic so we can understand.
All right, I can bring it to council next meeting with some pictures.
Because I'm not in the loop on this one, so I don't know.
All right, I'll send sketches next time with my report, so at least we'll be able to discuss it in more details.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks.
Next item is the lease agreement for the parking spaces. So we don't have the lease back yet, so once we have that, then we'll have more to discuss. The shared county court, the mayor's not here, but I know we got some emails. They are moving forward, but I don't know how faster, as Councilman Smith had said, it still hasn't had any legislation, so we'll wait for the mayor to update that at a future date. The recreational marijuana draft ordinance is pending. Is there any discussion there?
I started preparing that ordinance. I should have it ready for June introduction and July adoption, which is in advance of the August 21st deadline for the state.
Okay. Is there anyone on council that has anything on that topic?
What's our obligation with the planning board, Chris?
We do have to refer it to the planning board. Once it's introduced, it gets referred to the planning board, and if memory serves, I think they have 35 days to approve it. I would probably, with council's permission, send them an initial draft so that they could begin that review process sooner than later.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's advisable.
I have a question. There's a 2% charge on the sale of marijuana, correct?
Correct.
From a dispensary or a store or whatever you want to call it.
Right, and then 1% from distributors.
Distributors. So it's 1% from the other three.
That's it.
If we, can I ask a question, Mr. President? Just to clarify this, if we did not pass legislation or we denied it, let's say we did not accept it, we voted against it, then we have the opportunity in, is it 5 years?
5 years.
We could opt in at any time.
To, I think, is it 5 years?
You can opt out.
You can opt out after 5 years, but if you opt out, you can opt in at any time.
Correct. If we don't opt out, then we're subject to whatever the state puts forth 4 or 5 years, and then whatever does happen is then grandfathered in.
I'm going to just restate my opposition to this. I stated it previously. I am not in support of it. I would rather see, not that I'll ever be in favor of it personally, but I would rather see how it pans out than jump in and be part of the first group and recognize after the fact, the impact that it could have, the negative impact that it could have. I don't know it'll ever change my vote, but I would urge caution in proceeding in this matter. As I have previously stated, I am in opposition to any of this, and I will be voting no on it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Is there, Chris, do you know if there's, are there penalties if they do sell to minors, or is there anything like?
I would imagine so. I haven't read the state legislation. But
Okay.
I would imagine it would be the same as selling, alcohol to a minor.
All right.
I guess I haven't reviewed the state legislation, but my guess is yes.
Yeah,
Very much
yeah,
so.
I don't know how severe it is. I mean, and judging by the first legislation, that's my concern is with the state legislation, because it was horrible when it came out that they had to make a correction that should have never been.
I would agree with that, but again, that's something that this
Yeah.
council doesn't control.
Yeah,
Controls
yeah.
is, where people are permitted to sell it, and, under the terms and conditions.
No, Chief, just, it's going to make your job so that much worse with this.
Unless we vote no on it.
Yeah.
Have we gotten any numbers from these dispensaries? Like what kind of sales volumes they've done? Has anybody done any research on that?
Well, not New Jersey. I mean, no. I
Well,
mean, obviously, New Jersey.
other
is just-
states, I mean.
Yeah, other states
People are
now.
people, right? I mean, sales
Yeah,
volumes.
it's a good idea
here-
to look.
Yeah, it is a good idea because that'll give us an idea of what kind of income we'll generate, you know, if it's 20 grand a year, is it really worth it? You know,
Yes.
It passed very well on the statewide, 70%.
yeah,
And we did a community poll, right, saying 7 out of 10 were in favor of it.
absolutely.
And, you know, as elected officials, we are here to represent our community. And we do have to take that into consideration, that it did pass overwhelmingly in the community.
True, and there is,
It's something to think about.
exactly, but there's also, you know, that 30 or 40% of people that, you know, are pretty against it, you know, and they're vocal about it, and they're telling me, you know, they're sending letters, they're, you know, and we have to think about that. And by looking at the sales volume, it's just a thought. I'm not saying I'm for or against it at all. You know, I'm kind of, you know, back and forth with it. So, you know, I'm not taking a hard line like Brian with it, but it's just, these are the discussions I think we need to have. And
No, it's our
it
job.
would be a good idea to look into sales volumes and see what we would actually get out of a dispensary. And quite frankly, if there's only 37 of them in the state, I mean, I guess the odds are, I get it's, you know, it's a
Well,
throughway to the
on the
gateway
one-
to the shore.
On the one hand, there may not be one in Northfield. On the other hand, who knows? Because
There may be one.
as everybody reads the news,
True.
many towns are not, are opting, as Brian said, to opt out. at this point.
Yeah. And I mean, it is a gateway, so it's probably a pretty good place to have one. You know, I don't know. There's a lot going on here, so.
Yeah, well, it'll be another, when we have the ordinance, we'll have another good discussion. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your attention. And
Drug for the gateway town.
Moving on, did you have anything further on the sump pumps, or did you cover your? Thank you. And the next item is the local road program.
Council President, I didn't finish my list yet, so for the next meeting, I'll have the list and I'll email it for council. to
Thank
review.
you. And the municipal aid program?
There are two roads. We need to figure out which one. We have either Ridgewood or Oak. That's the discussion, what council feels. Oak from Zion to Linwood, or Ridgewood from Route 9 to Linwood also. I mean, that's the discussion, what council feels. I mean, both of them, they could use upgrade. Oak is more driven. A lot of people drive on that, and there's some bad areas in Oak, so.
It's a lot more use.
Yeah, so should we just prepare the application for Oak?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Does anybody on council have anything other than that? Or does everybody think everybody agree with that? Right, yeah.
Okay.
I think Oak is the most,
And it
the
qualifies.
highest usage, so it's going to need it the worst.
And also it qualifies, it connects county road to a different municipality, so that falls within the parameters for the state aid. So that's, all right,
Yeah. move
thanks. So
forward.
we'll move
Thank you.
forward with that then, thank you.
Let's see, we have are there any new grants? Or
We're working on the two grants.
working on the
so-
ones, the
yeah,
existing ones we talked about?
Yes.
The other item that's up, we want to discuss is a position for the secretary in the police department, the second secretary from part-time to full-time. It's not on the agenda, so this is a new item, but the mayor isn't here to present. So I know in the budget workshops, there was presentations as to some of the administrative needs from the police department. And one of the things that from council we suggested was that was one of our suggestions. So if anyone on council would like to move forward with that, then we'll start moving forward with the proper paperwork, proper notices.
Is that for next year or is that this year?
That will be for this year.
Do we have the money to fund it?
Yes, we do have the money available.
I'd like to see the breakdown from
Yeah.
CFO, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I spoke with the CFO. She said the money is available, but yes, we will have a move forward with a more in-depth analysis of it.
If we get it before the next meeting.
Yes, okay.
What is the next meeting?
Okay, at this time, we'll open the public session. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on any topic, please ask you to state your name and address, and please observe a 5-minute limit.
Heather Mellon, 2509 Herbert Drive. I love the sports, whatever, what's it called?
Proposal.
Whatever
June
it's
15th.
called. It's a very, very, very good idea, and I hope that, we can get some funding and get it going sooner rather than later. Very good.
Yeah, 4 weeks.
The only thing I have to say tonight about this marijuana thing is the only reason we are going to okay it because of the money it might bring into the city, I think it's very sad. And that's not a good enough reason to have something like this in our town. And that's all I have to say.
I agree. Thank you. No, that's not, and well, I can speak for myself, and that's not in the equation, really. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak?
Yes, we're asking questions for Fan. You ready to do this now?
Can we do the Zoom?
See if
people?
there's
Yeah.
anyone on Zoom, and then we'll cue you for that right after them.
So we did have a comment that was made while Fan was presenting, but I explained to the person that public comments won't be addressed until the public comment portion of the meeting. So this is Devin Callan, 2037 North Shepherd Drive. Thank you, Fan, for volunteering your time to work toward the betterment of our local athletes. These are two amazing projects that can enhance our programs and the community of Northfield. And we had a second that was submitted in writing. And this is Joe Gockler from 14 Jackson Court. He says, I fully support the attempts by Fan to bring to the attention of City Council the need to develop outdoor basketball courts in the Birch Grove Park Sports Complex. As a Northfield resident and father and former president of Fan, the need for basketball courts is well overdue. Additionally, my many discussions with members of council regarding this issue have addressed why the timing is now to move forward with this project. Furthermore, I fully support further discussion by the city with representatives of Field Turf based on an initial meeting with members of council and Field Turf that I attended. This project seems to be a solution to a problem that will continue to pose issues. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mayor.
And that's it for Zoom and comments in writing.
Okay, Councilman Deweese?
Yeah, the basketball courts in Birch Grove Park. I'm concerned about the 3-on-3 tournaments that you're talking about having, making Birch Grove Park is quote unquote some destination, I guess, for sports activity. I guess. Did you guys consider parking out there? And the second question is the score tower. It's the first time I'm hearing about that. It's unsafe, so could you give me some details on that, please?
Okay. Can I just say my name again? Should I say my name again? Okay, Steve Malia, 106 Julie Drive. To your first question, parking is an issue in the entire complex, right? We know that. It's an issue at the baseball fields. It's an issue at the football field. It's an issue in Birch Grove when it's crowded. Haven't seen Birch Grove crowded in a while, to be honest with you. So that's kind of what one of our thoughts are. So have we had a specific parking discussion? No, right? It definitely, there is limited parking there. You know, when we talk about 3-on-3 tournaments and things like that, I don't view it as a large amount of people, right? We run our 5 versus 5 rec into the Northfield gym, and you know, there's only 2 gyms. We're talking a couple of baskets, so I don't see a large amount of people at any one time. But they're all things that we can, you know, discuss and detail out, right? We haven't figured out the exact programs or anything until we have something to do, but I definitely understand the parking side of it. But again, I will point out, there's not many cars there. Second, about the tower, and, perhaps we're confused, but we have been told that it's, I think the term is red flagged on the top, the crow's nest area. The railing along the top has some issues, and there's some abandoned speakers from a former PA system for however knows how many years ago that look like they could come down, right? There's a concern there, a little bit of a safety concern. We've been told, I've just inherited this information over the years that no one is allowed to go up there and anything. And we've had some past issues with people going into the tower in the off season and, leaving the hatch open and everything. So there's water issues and other things within that space. And then that roll down door, it's a garage style door on the side of it, doesn't, it goes to about here, right? And then that's where my friends the squirrels come in and everything else. So. Yeah, I guess to clarify, yeah. I assume the brick, the brick part of the building is fine. There seems to be some cosmetic and safety concerns, which, maybe in the future, we could set up a meeting, just kind of walk through more in detail.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Have you got any cost estimates on the repair to the bathrooms in the town?
No.
Or the basketball court?
Did we have a cost estimate?
It's changed since the first iteration. We had an estimate for that one court that was on the
Right.
parking lot because we had an asphalt guy come who's gonna do it for a discount, because all we're doing free paving, just putting a fresh coat on top of the existing asphalt. Since this newest one, we haven't, because we're not really sure what we're up against as far as what's underneath.
Right.
Assuming it's a lot of clay.
The original range was 15, I think the cost total, if it was out in the parking lot, was what, about 15
I'm not getting any of this.
round number?
If we did the double court out there, super nuts with everything, yes.
What was that, 15,000 you said?
15,000, yeah.
That's what the double court soup to nuts.
That was just laying it
That's in
on
the
top of the
parking
old,
lot.
But that was in the parking lot, so there's already a surface, right? So
Yeah.
we assume it would be
The
more.
courts in the back is a whole different.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that was with landscaping, with the fence.
we're just clarifying so that we get it in the record, that's all, because,
Now, also, we have people that are willing to do these jobs. I think our concern is, where do we go when we have somebody that says, hey, I can fix that bathroom first? We have to go through you guys for all that. So I guess.
Tom,
going
nobody in
forward-
Zoom knows who's talking.
okay, yeah. I'm sorry, yeah, unfortunately, the Zoom folks can't tell who's speaking, but yeah.
I
and
know your
please,
point. You wanted to
yeah,
take it? No,
yeah.
I know your point.
Yeah, please, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
we're trying to follow the rules,
Understood. No,
keep
understood.
everything transparent.
So basically, these small things, and even like the top of the tower and all that sort of stuff, we want to work with you guys to understand what we're allowed to do, what we're not allowed to do. It becomes a city or a public works
Right.
item, right? We're open, especially these small ones, right? We're open to taking care of it and doing that, but we need to understand the process, with you guys, and it may just be, this is what we want to do, and then submit that. That's one of the things we're looking for. Like, as Ange said, we have people, everybody's a contractor, right? Who coaches pretty much. So we have people, we've also had other people who have offered to donate supplies and things like that. So we're just trying to clarify how we can move forward with it. Because again, our stance is we're using city, buildings and field, right? They're not ours. But at the same time, we're trying to maintain them to the best of our ability. Snack bar, little thing, like last year, we were told we would fail our health inspection for the snack bar because the ceiling tiles a couple had ripped and were coming down. So we just replaced them, things like that. And, that's where we're trying to understand, what should we be doing? What should we bring you guys in on?
Yeah, I guess, as you said, by opening up this communication, talk to anyone on council and we'll get the right council person involved.
Yeah, it
And
also could-
as to what you can and cannot do. Because most of it obviously is, we certainly don't want people doing major renovations and God forbid, we don't want anybody to get injured.
Right, no, completely understood, right.
And that's always the concern. Yeah, and of course that it's done up to code. So yeah, we'll be involved in anything that we can do. Again, let's keep the communication going.
Okay.
I think you just covered it.
Yes, Councilwoman Madden?
Questions about, two things. We're looking to see what we can do as a city. We talked about grants available through COVID relief programs. Are there any such grants that involve sports, the building of, basketball courts, or like, things like that? And you do talk about various grant opportunities, it's rather vague. Do you have any specific grants? Have you applied for any grants?
We cannot apply for any grants because it's not our property.
So that would be
Right.
the city.
Right,
Right.
so, yes, correct.
And we don't know if we would be eligible for them.
I think we have one on the
Yeah.
agenda.
Yeah, there's one on the agenda. But yeah, we have the same questions, right? We have seen grants and we go, maybe we can do this. We don't know, right? We can't apply for them. We can't do that sort of thing, which goes back to kind of talking with you guys.
Also, you want to allocate funds each year for the betterment of all of these sports programs. You want to see maybe yearly commitment to a specific amount of funds each year?
I'm gonna let her take that one.
The only reason I wanted to mention this, so in years past, city council's always given the sports community, always given fan 10,000, they give us a number every year. And that was the number, and that for some reason in the last 10 years, that stopped. Yeah, so I'm not
Because
sure,
we pay for the
and it won't, and so we're not asking for that, obviously, we understand,
Well-
like I said.
Well, what happened there was prior to that date, when fan reorganized, they can no longer be covered under our GIF. So now the 10,000 that we give you goes to pay for your insurance.
So,
Because covered under the GIF, it was, so when fan was organized and disbanded the prior entity, that knocked you out of because our GIF doesn't cover sports teams, but you were grandfathered in. So at that time, that's why we, as a council, tried to stop that disbanding and keep that organization in place because it was beneficial for both the city and for fan. So that allocation of $10,000
goes to our, so.
paying the insurance.
So if we got our own insurance, I'm only asking because I just can't imagine that, I don't know how that could look if we didn't get insurance from you guys. I mean, obviously, you know how important our sports are in this town. And
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure you guys all support the kids in this town. That I think that we're long overdue for something going on in Birch Grove Park. When I moved here, we paid a lot of money in taxes in this town. When I moved here, Birch Grove Park was beautiful. There's no fishing tournaments. The things that they used to have, there are no longer. And if you go into Birch Grove Park right now, you're looking around saying, what the heck happened to this place? I have to be honest. As all the taxes we pay in this town, the kids deserve something now. It's their time. I think we all know it's about the time that we do something. And whether they're basketball courts or not, we're proposing that. We are open to ideas. If you're saying, hey, look, guys, we want to put new slides, or my kids will probably never see this. I would hope they will. But if they don't, I'm okay with that. I live in this town and moved to this town for one reason, for my children, so they can go to great schools. We could be in a beautiful area. I love Northfield. I really do. I'm from North Jersey. I work in a casino. Tom, I mean, I know,
I moved here for the same reason.
listen, I'm more than willing to have our company pay for our, put, Resorts Casino on our jerseys to sponsor us. Whatever it takes, I'll do. But I mean, I think to say like the insurance thing, I think you guys got to pay for our insurance. I know you don't have to, but I think it would look really bad if the insurance wasn't covered. So if that was something that we can say, hey, look, and we're willing to say, hey, look, if you guys give us 5,000 a year.
I'm saying that was the agreement.
Right.
That was the agreement from your predecessors that, okay, fine, just pay for our insurance.
Right. Well, that's what we're trying to do now.
And fan said they would self-fund
Yeah.
everything else.
Right.
So it's not that the city, that was the.
No,
agreement.
I know. Well,
Yeah.
I think that's what we're trying to get rid of. We're trying to get rid of what our predecessors did, and we're trying to open lots of lines to say, hey, guys,
Right.
when we have a to-do list, what do we do? When we have this to-do list and we want to paint the bathroom floors, and Steve said, hey, we got to paint these bathroom floors. Do I have to go call city council to do that? Or can we just do that ourselves? So is that something we can just send an email to and we can get a yes approval right away and get it done today? Because the thing is, we keep waiting.
Yeah.
And what's happening is, we're hearing next week this will happen, or we'll get back to you in 2 weeks. And, what happens is next month comes and then before we know it, it's a year later and nothing's gotten done. So I think that if we just know that we can get this done, you guys can say it's a yes, we'd be happy to do it. And we're happy to put money on. Listen, we raise all these, we're having a big benefit. I have tickets for you all, by the way. And we're planning on having, we have great prizes. It's going to be amazing. We're going to, we make a lot, we do well with these benefits and we want to give it all back to the kids, however we have to do that. And we're willing to meet you halfway. We understand your budgets. We get it. Really, we do. I just think that there's certain things that have to be addressed with Birch Grove. And again, if it's not basketball courts, then what is it? What can we agree on that we can bring this community back together? And as far as parking, look, parking is always an issue. You've been to our football games on a Saturday. People are parked down the street and around the corner. Our football games are, people want to be there. And now, we've had the varsity football team win the championship. We beat them in Atlantic City twice. I mean, that's very impressive. It's a big deal. And parents from all these places want to come here. They're like, I want to live in Northfield. Why do you guys have such great sports programs? Our baseball team, one districts. I mean, if that's not, these are great reasons to come and live here. And these are the reasons why the young families move into these towns to live in Northfield. And I just think that we can better them, whatever it takes to do that. So we'll give a to-do list and you can tell us what we can and cannot do, but we're willing to work with you. So you can let us know.
I have one more question.
Yes,
You talked about, with the grass, the flooding when it rains.
yes.
Well, what happens when it rains, not sports person.
Okay.
What happens when it rains on the top?
Turf is the drain is just completely different on turf.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a completely different, and I'm sure Mr. Weeks.
But it's very costly.
Very costly, but again,
That's
there's
why
all
it's-
funding.
That's why it's costly. The field is actually, maybe about half the cost. The infrastructure, the drainage system is what costs the most.
Yeah, it's extremely.
Costly, but remember, if we did something like that, we'd get sponsors, it'd be a whole different, this turf bricks we're talking about. People would sponsor these bricks, people in this town. And a lot of and that's another thing, we need to get the older community back into this town. They need to come here and say, look, I would love to have, I was a coach for 20 years.
How many football games you play in this season?
We play 7, right?
7.
No, 9, last year 7, so 7 to 9, because last year we played 7, depending on where we're gonna be this year.
Mr. President,
Yes.
just nice to see the new energy from the association coming forward and everything that they presented. That brings back the old days when in the younger years, being involved in everything. And, but it's nice to see to keep us on last year to see what we need for the future. And, I look back in time and all the volunteering and cheerleading that, things I was involved in with my wife, with my mother-in-law, was the supervisor of the cheerleading, the booster club, and all sports. It was a big operation with a lot of people. They got a lot done. That field was built and donated by certain individuals that were related to my wife. And today, many people from Northfield have passed work to build that field. And, but it's nice to see the energy and the coming forward with your plan.
Thank you, Mr. Bray, I appreciate that. We do.
Yeah, just a little,
Thank you for your
just a little tip,
volunteerism.
Angela. Budget time is next year, February? So, when we need to budget these kind of things, the things that you're asking for.
Oh, absolutely. And the reason why we came
And
out.
that's a time when we will, and between now and then, we can come up with some. type of-
Sure. And I think
Yeah.
the reason why we brought that up is just to get ahead of it, like Steve
Mhm.
mentioned, but also
For sure.
we also knew about the funding and the grants and, I did send some grant information. I did pass it along. There are plenty of grants. We just have to, you guys have to apply. We can't. If I could, believe me, we would.
Okay. You have it, and
We had the ones that they
yeah, I
provided.
know
I
there was
haven't
one-
gotten anything.
there was
from
one that
you
we
guys.
both were
Yeah.
applying for the same one.
Yeah.
If there's others, please, yeah. Anything you
There's-
find, since it may come across your radar more than us because of being involved in
Oh,
the
great. We'll
sports.
forward it. Yeah, we
Yeah,
have
well,
others.
yeah, anything that we can apply for, let me know.
Great. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
And yeah, grants are great.
Sure are. Any other
Anyone
questions?
else from council?
Mr. Brad, I just want to
Yes.
state that I too appreciate the presentation. I want to echo Councilman Perry's sentiments. I think there's kind of a general consensus that, we love the ideas. I want to say, as someone that was born and raised in Northfield and commenting on Julie's discussion about her family, her father was my T-ball coach going back to 1976, something like that. Still probably the best baseball coach I ever met. So I understand her passion for it. I think that in all my time in Northfield, and certainly being involved in sports and coaching at the high school level for so many years, personally, I'm going to say I think it's past time that Northfield steps up and does a little bit more. I think that we do owe it to our children, and I still have young ones as well. And I understand there's budgetary constraints, but I would love to see major improvements out of Birch Grove to make this town even that much more special. So thank you, all of you, for coming out and presenting this.
Thank you.
I'd just like to, I've been sitting in on meetings with all these fine people here, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of energy. They're very organized. They go through their agenda, and everybody has their own thing going on, and you delegate well, and everybody does their own task. And I'll tell you, it's great to have people like that in our town doing this. I mean, without them, we literally would have no system. We'd have nothing for our kids. And it is, Brian, I'll echo that, and that we need, it's time we start doing something as a city to help you guys out a little bit, take a little bit of that pressure off.
We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your volunteerism. Since I know it gets tough, especially when you have the travel games in Mount Laurel.
We also have
So I gotta
benefit.
pay-
You're all welcome to.
so I
You
gotta
don't have
pay
to
for
pay. You guys are free. We'll pay for you, don't worry.
Thank you.
Anyone else on Zoom?
Yeah, hang on. Okay, so Amanda Bucaferni wants to speak. Amanda, are you still there?
Yes, hi. Amanda Bucaferni, 2006 Wabash Avenue. I just want to say thank you to Fan too for the presentation. I do have a couple questions too after listening. Who is actually responsible for the upkeep of like the bathrooms and facilities at the field? Is it the city?
It was my understanding that the fan was cleaning the bed. I have to confirm that tomorrow.
It's kind of hard to hear you. I'm sorry.
Couldn't hear you. The understanding was it was the organization that was upkeep, but we'll clarify that.
Okay, is that the same for Little League as well? The bathrooms there, the facilities there?
The city takes care of theirs 2 days a week, and then the organization takes care of it from that point on.
Okay, I'm only asking because we're at the field every night and we use the bathrooms there and we line the fields and drag the fields every night. And it just seems like it's not taken care of at all. The bathrooms are a disgrace. I don't even want to use them. As a taxpayer, we pay a lot of money. Our taxes are one of the highest I've ever seen. Our school district doesn't have busing, the teacher salaries are one of the lowest in the county. So it just is really disheartening to see our facilities for the youth sports. And, that's what Fans trying to do. They're trying to get everybody together to care about it. Come down, take a look at everything. Because it's really sad. The kids need the sports. It's a great thing for everybody, parents, and watching the kids smile and, with everything that has gone on. So I guess like finding out who's responsible or how can we work together? People at the fields think it's the city and everybody's unsure. So how we can figure all this out to make everything better for everybody and something to be proud of. So kind of getting clarity on all of that and working together with Fan or whoever it is, the Little League or whatever it may be. And just as far as the grant goes, I know the one deadline is in a couple of days. So I'm not sure like how far you are in the process for that. I don't know if I missed the discussion for that one.
On the agenda.
It is on the agenda tonight.
Okay, so you haven't discussed it yet?
No, it's on, we have a resolution. It's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Wonderful. Okay, and who do we send the information to? We have a whole list of grants that we compiled that you can like go through. Most of the deadlines have passed, so it would be for next year. but we do have like a list compiled for you.
Amanda, if the grant period has already closed, it's
Uh-huh.
not of any value, but any for which the grant period is still open, you can email
Uh-huh.
them to me. It's Mary.
So a lot of them are annual,
Right,
that
but
we apply for.
when the grant window opens is when we
That-
need to see the grant.
Perfect.
You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yep, sounds good. Okay, so we'll discuss the large grant specifically for the upkeep for recreation.
What do you mean by large grant, Amanda?
I think it's like $2.5 million for
That's the
recreation.
local recreation improvement grant. That's the grant that's on the agenda for this evening.
Yeah,
that the council is
okay.
slated to approve, and it doesn't include a plan for basketball courts.
Okay, does it include anything for the football?
No, it does
field?
not.
It does not.
A
Okay,
turf field? No.
how about fixing the drainage? So the kids can use the field if they make it again to the playoffs?
No, not in this particular grant, no.
Well,
You're bringing this up for the first time with the turf, and that grant, we knew about that grant before you brought it up, and we've been working on it for a while. So the projects that the city had earmarked for that have already been decided. Coincidentally, we were looking at basketball courts. We tried to put them in a certain place because we thought that's where you wanted them. We ended up moving them, and I think the new plan, Rami, if I'm not mistaken, is the new plan that Fan suggested. But that grant had already been earmarked, Amanda, before you guys sent it to me.
Okay, so I guess we need to figure out how we can kind of discuss a plan going forward, because our facilities for every sport is really gone downhill. I mean, the kids couldn't even play on the football field this year.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. So
Yeah.
please send us the grants as you find them, and if we're eligible, we'll do what we can to get them.
Well, and I think too, it can't just be grant. I think we have to find
Well,
another.
again, of course, but in conjunction with the grants, there's
Sure.
also
Sure.
like the presentation that was tonight.
So if we do find grants available, can we, tag them in some way for specific things like the football field or the drainage issues, instead of, getting a grant and then finding out that it's going towards something else?
Well, that's something we would work together with everyone. It's certainly based on what the grants permit.
Sure. Okay.
And all of your suggestions would be entertained, but the council as a whole needs to decide what the project is for the town. So we can't say to you, yes, if you earmark a project that you want us to apply for a grant, there's no way anybody can make you that promise, but I think everybody here is committed to entertaining any suggestion that you may have. If I've misspoken, correct me.
No, that is what we've been talking about. That is what we've all said. Yes.
Just to mention, some of the drainage issues, we're hoping that the newly sodded field that we work in conjunction with Fan to resod the field, we're hoping that alleviates some of the runoff problem.
Right. Didn't they did a little bit underneath too, didn't they?
We are staying on the clay pond, so it doesn't, go through the ground, it just runs off. So we're hoping that new sod helps it.
Okay. Is there anyone else in Zoom?
I do not see anyone else in Zoom.
Anyone else here wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll close the public session.
Mr. President.
Yes. Oh, we do have somebody. I'm sorry.
Okay, sir.
I scanned the room too fast. I apologize.
Jerry Breeden, 109 Roosevelt Avenue. Hope Council, my speech is not well. I had a stroke 5 years ago and still I can't talk that well. But I hope Northfield is about letting people marijuana eventually to Tilton Road, because we get 2% of proceeds, and Northfield needs all the help we get, property taxes and everything else. So 2% is a lot of money. It really is. So think long and hard about that. In the 70s, ACRAC, Tilton Road, bongs, bikes, everything. Nobody else did, but Northfield did. We were free enterprise, and we did it. So think about that. My concern is Thursday, last week, I guess Axon, who it was, they put weed killer. It's a commercial grade strong. on the walkway on the bike path. And they put it down. There's people walking on it. I saw a lady with 2 kids. The kids were sitting on the stones. I said, Miss, you might tell little kids to get off the stone. Why? The city put down pesticides down there, and they have little signs, but they got knocked over. And people walking, everybody I told, I said, what? I said, yeah, those signs, but be careful, man. And people walking on it, they get in their shoes, then they go home. And it was like, I was in a bad day for me. And I could smell it. I could smell it. So I got off the bike path, I got in the Tilton Market, Wabash Avenue. And the city should have told people, Channel 22 or something, attention, Northfield were down, Weed-Kill were down on the bike path with these hours. I mean, little kids, dogs. Now, on the signs, there's a picture with an X going on. It says, no dogs, kids, or people for 24 hours. 15 minutes later, there's little kids sitting in it. Now, it's your responsibility to protect us. Now, I don't know what you can do on that stone to keep the.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why they put the signs.
Well,
True Green.
Yeah, that's a contractor that comes in.
Was environmentally friendly, but I do agree with Mr. Breeden that more signs should have been put out. That's one thing that I noticed. I rode up down the bike path and they didn't have very many signs out, so that's something that
Okay.
we have to address.
I mean, right now, there's a class action law about that company, about the calling cancer. And we have little kids sitting in it. And everybody I told with dogs, I said, what? I said, well, you know, they do the best they can, but they never do it. Like 5 years ago, they didn't do it. They started 3 years ago. And Mr. Chow, I gave him a hard time last year. And I get upset because it's like what's it called? Pesticides. It's poison. And it says remove the sign for 72 hours. That means 72 hours. And you're not supposed to walk on it. It's for lawns. When you walk on it, it gets everywhere on your shoes, and the dog getting their paws. They go home, and it's not good. So I think it's long and hard next year before you do it, because I'm gonna tell everybody to listen to me. This way I'll call Don Williams and tell him. If I said no, I'll give him a break. So I let it go. But please, next time, think about it. The little kids, dogs, and us, you know? And I want to thank you all for all your hard work, everybody. You know, this virus really got a great job. And the police department, hey, Public Works, yesterday, cutting limbs, trees, Quinn and the boys working hard, man, really good. So thank you all your hard work. And today I'm all really calm this way. I'm not yelling anymore. I'm on another stroke, but I want to thank you all your hard work. I really do. And God bless all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else?
I don't have anybody in Zoom.
Okay, so we'll close the public session. If everyone could please refer to their agendas. All right, the minutes, Councilman DeWeese. Resolutions, Councilman Murray, Councilman Tara.
Or what?
Need a second for the minutes.
Resolutions was Perry and Notaro.
Yeah. No, second for minutes would be Councilman Smith,
Who was the first?
Councilman DeWeese.
Thank you.
Resolutions, Councilman Perry, Councilman Notaro. Payment of bills, Councilman Notaro, Councilwoman Madden, and meeting notices, Councilman Utz. Do I have a motion to adjourn? the work session. That was us and Louise. All in favor? Aye.
You know me so well, you know what I was going to ask.
You can't tell, nobody's mouth is moving.
You good?
Yes, I did the tap tap.
Good evening. This is the regular meeting of Northfield City Council, May 18th of 2021. This meeting was properly advertised in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, in the Press of Atlantic City on January 9th of this year. Due to social distancing requirements related to COVID-19, there are limited seats for in-person attendance by members of the public this evening. For this reason, this meeting is also being presented simultaneously as a remote public meeting, live streamed using Zoom conferencing service, and in accordance with the governor's executive orders and the Open Public Meetings Act. Zoom meeting participants can dial in by telephone and listen to the proceedings, or they can access the meeting using a web browser and be able to view and listen. Instructions on how members of the public could reserve one of the limited seats, as well as how they can access Zoom, have been made available on the municipal website and were published in the Press of Atlantic City. The full text of the public meeting notice has been posted at the entrance to the municipal building and includes Zoom instructions, information on where to find the meeting agenda and relevant documents, as well as instructions on how members of the public could submit comments in advance of tonight's meeting. For those participating via Zoom, all participants will be muted upon entry to the meeting. Web browser participants will not be able to share their screens or see the camera view of anyone other than the host, which is the city of Northfield. Zoom participants wishing to exercise their right to participate during the public comment portion of the meeting should wait until the specific announcement is made to open the public comment period. At this time, one by one, any telephone users will be asked to identify themselves and will be unmuted to permit commentary. For web browser participants, comments or questions may be submitted via the chat function, but will not be acknowledged outside of the designated public comment portion of the meeting. Chat users must also provide his or her name and address for the record in order to be heard. Any written comments submitted in advance will be read aloud and addressed during the public comment portion of the meeting. The one comment we received was read earlier this evening. May I have a flag salute led by Mayor Chow, please?
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of reflection. Let us remember and keep in our prayers those serving in our nation's armed forces, especially our troops away from home, and also give thanks to those of our first responders, our police, who protect and serve our community throughout the United States as well as throughout our country. Thank you. Please be seated.
Thank you. May I have a roll call?
Mr. Deweese?
Here.
Mrs. Madden?
Here.
Mr. Notaro?
Here.
Mr. Perry?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Utz?
Here.
Mr. Palestina?
Here.
Mr. Chow?
Present.
Mr. President?
Thank you. Approval of the minutes? Oh, I saw it. It's not on there. It's not on my cheat sheet.
It's minutes first.
Oh, yeah, it's minutes first. I'm following my cheat sheet.
I'd like to make a motion to dispense with reading of the minutes of May 4th, 2021. They've been posted, distributed to council, and on file with the clerk's office.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. Mayor's report.
Thank you, Council President. At this time, we have advertised on our city website the open position or vacant position for alternate on the planning board. And I believe the deadline is next week. The Memorial Day event is going well. And I want to thank Shannon and Mary for their help in organizing, but things look very well in that respect for our ceremony that we'll have at the Veterans Park We will have some guest speakers, and I think the event will do well over there. We also, the cultural committee is continuing to progress with their July 4th meeting, or excuse me, July 4th parade. Again, that is going forward smoothly. And I do thank Joan Pullen and Councilman, Notaro, who are also working diligently on that. Some sad news. As you know, we applied for the 2020 Transportation Alternative Set Aside Program, and I know Rami will speak more to it, but in short, unfortunately, the City of Northfield Bike/Pedestrian Path Upgrade Project was not among those selected in the research, or excuse me, in receiving funding. This year, solicitations generated 133 applications, totaled over $100 million in requests and approximately 9.75 million in available funding. Even though we did not get it, they do encourage us to continue the progress of applying. I will be meeting shortly with our committee, with Councilwoman Madden and Councilman DeWeese next month. I believe the first week, and we'll just have to finalize on the date, with the county to speak and discuss about the Atlantic County Library proposal that they want to present to Northfield. And also, all of you have received documentation from my last meeting with the Atlantic County Court proposals. You have a sample resolution, you have some of the documentation of some of the structure of the contract itself. They are anxious to move forward for those communities who are very much interested. As I said, the sooner the communities get online, they know they confirm the price as far as the expense that it's going to cost. So I would urge City Council, if they are seriously considering, that we start looking forward into the resolution and any questions that you may have regarding the contract itself. And that is all that I have for today, Council President.
Thank you, Mayor. City Engineers report.
Thank you, Council President. To talk about the grant application, I received the same letter today. Apparently, the state, on certain grant application, they don't tell us how much funding they have available. Especially this grant, we were not told how much is allocated to be given to the municipalities. Basically, they gave less than 10% what's requested, about 9.7 million out of 100 million requested. So we were in the 90% that we did not get the grant. The other grants that FAM people were talking about today is, one of them is, she mentioned 2.5 million, but that's 2.5 million for the entire state. It's not for, you know, we won't qualify. If we're going to apply.
They're not going to give it all to us?
Yeah, not only for Northfield, it's 2.5 million for the 587 municipalities. So we're going to apply, but when they have limited funds, I think it's more difficult for our municipality to qualify for these grants. But it doesn't mean we should not be applying. We should keep applying for it. Like for this set aside grant, 2 years ago, Summers Point got the grant. So we should keep going for these grants, and hopefully we'll get at least 1 or 2 of those grants. Yeah. We applied for to the Atlantic County Improvement Authority. That grant application was submitted last Friday or Thursday. And we're working on this new grant, which due on the 24th. And we have another grant due in I believe, June, sometimes in June. I'm not sure the date exactly. So we'll keep looking for these grants. And we're going to apply for the municipal aid for Oak Avenue at this point, based on our discussion, for reconstruction of that street from Zion Road, from Mill Road to Linwood. That's what the grant application would be. And we'll get that grant because that meets all the criteria, all the requirements, and all what they said. For the street to qualify, you have to meet the criteria, which we do meet the criteria. The second thing I'd like to discuss is the local road program. I have a meeting tomorrow with the contractor. We're going to start marking up the streets for paving. They're looking to start probably in 2 weeks, and they will start paving, and we'll finish the project in about maybe six weeks. We'll be done with the paving program for 2020. That's basically my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Rami? Thank you, Rami.
Thanks.
At this time, we will open the public session again. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on any topic? And we please ask that you observe a 5-minute limit per speaker. Anyone here? Zoom?
There are a lot of people in the queue, but I don't have anyone yet who wishes to speak. Sometimes there's a lag. If we can
Mhm.
just give it a second. Oh,
Sure.
yes, we do have someone.
There we have a hand raised.
We have Alicia Gary. Mrs. Gary, did you want to speak? Mrs. Gary, I sent you an unmute. Did you get it?
Yes, I did. Can you
Okay.
hear-
Yes, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Alicia Gary, 202 St. James Place. I'd just like to publicly thank Councilman Perry for looking into my concerns on St. James Place regarding signage and replacement of signage. Councilman Perry addressed the issue and expedited the putting up new signs and checked and followed up with my concerns. So thank you again, Councilman Perry, for your quick response and action. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Thanks, Councilman.
Thank you.
There's another issue there that we're looking at for a mark out for another sign, and also the one corner needs to be upgraded in one of our projects, and that's ongoing.
Thank you.
Nunzi, if you could please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Nunzi Kupo. I live at 104 Carrot Court. And I like to say that, you know, I echo what Angela Barini said about the fan. I'm really, really appreciative of all the excitement and her passion and what goes on for this kids. You know what? I have a 22-year-old that went through this sports system in this town, and now I have a 7-year-old. That's a laugh, I understand. But I think that our kids are what matters in this town. And you know what? Whatever that they need to get to support them, I'm here to help out. Like I heard someone earlier talk about cleaning the bathrooms. Hey, if they need me to clean the bathrooms every week, I'll be there to clean the bathrooms every week. Whatever you need, I'm here for you. Also, I have a lot of people that I know in the community that are high executives that come from the casinos that I know that would like to support our community because our kids are our future. That's what I have to say.
Thank you.
And you know what? I'm actually at church every week with the mayor, standing next to him, and he actually supports the church, and I actually am there with the church every week too at St. Gianna's.
That's a little religious thing. We don't care.
Well, I'm sorry. You know what? Here, that wasn't really nice, but that's okay.
Okay. We didn't unmute somebody. Or we
I don't
didn't
know.
mute.
I don't know who that was.
Okay. Unfortunately, somebody snuck through the mute.
That's okay. You know what? It's okay with that. And you know what? I pray for people like that. And we know that I take the higher ground. And like I say, we're here for the kids.
Well, we care.
That's
So-
what we care, and that's what I care about. I want our park to be clean and safe for our community. And I think, you know what, that's where everybody goes and enjoy themselves. I'm happy that we're having our parade again, and I'm happy that we're back doing everything. I ran a feast at our church 3 years ago because I think it's all about community. And you know what? That's all I have to say. Thank you for your support. I want to say that our commissioners and everyone in the town are doing a great job. You're really very patriotic. I'm a veteran for 27 years, and I still work with the government, for the military, and I support everything that everyone's doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I do believe Joan Brennan has her hand up.
Okay.
Mrs. Brennan, can you hear me?
Yes, I actually had gotten a response already from Mr. Notaro. I was going to ask a question, but he responded back to me on by text. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, Joe.
I don't see anybody else in Zoom who wishes to speak.
Okay, seeing none and no one else wishing to speak, the public session is now closed. Moving on to the consent agenda, all matters under consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and having been reviewed by council will be enacted by one motion. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any council member, and if so removed, will be treated as a separate matter. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certificate of availability of funds. Saying that, is there anyone from council wishing to remove anything from the consent agenda? Okay. Resolution.
Make the necessary motion for consent agenda resolutions 99/2021 through 101/2021.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
All in favor of voting by consent agenda on resolutions 99 through 101 of 2021?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to adopt resolution 99/2021 through 101/2021.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mrs. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Utz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes.
Motion carries for the adoption of the consent agenda.
Payment of bills?
I'd like to make the necessary motion for the payment of bills in the amount of $438,806.99.
Anyone?
Second, anyone?
Madden's, Barbara.
Did you second?
Thank
Thank you. Roll call.
Mr. Deweese?
Yes.
Mrs. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Utz?
Yes.
Mr. Palestina?
Yes.
Motion carries for payment of bills.
Meeting notices?
Okay, we have a primary election coming June 6th.
June 8th.
8th.
June 8th. Hope everybody will get out there and vote between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. And the next city council meeting will be, of course, there's only one council meeting per month in the summer months, will be June 15th with a 6 p.m. work session, regular session immediately following.
And just to reiterate, the Memorial Day ceremony is 9:30 on the 31st. I'm sorry, I'll be out of town. I wish I would be here for this. It's going to be a wonderful ceremony. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I punched too soon. Motion was Notaro and then second was.
Yep, I got it. Thank you.
Eat it.
How's everything coming along?
Oh,
So.
Yeah.
It didn't go off the rails too much.